Ladies and gentlemen, good morning. Welcome, distinguished members of the Arab Foundation's Forum, Princess Noof, and esteemed guests. I'm deeply honored and privileged to open this momentous event today, a day that has been eagerly anticipated not only by myself, but by all of us. A very warm welcome from me and the Arab Foundation's Forum. أرحب بحضراتكم أيها الحضور الكريم وبالأميرة النوف والضيوف الكرام. I would like to pause a bit to introduce myself to you. I am Joy Morozov. You're probably wondering, how come a Russian speaks Arabic? Actually, I am not Russian. I was born in Beirut. My father is from Jaffa. My mother is from Beirut. And my grandmother is from Syria. I am British, married to a Russian, living in Vienna, Austria. Wait, I was brought up in Al Ain, Riyadh, lived in London, Geneva, Switzerland, and Zurich, of course. So, in short, I am a makhlouta. I don't know if this is my Lebanese word for makhloutet fistok. But I'm not nuts, really, I'm not nuts. So I'm so excited to be here in Cairo. I was last here in 2009 in my corporate life at The Economist Group. And at the time, I didn't see much of it. So I'll be planning a couple of days to tour this beautiful place. And today, I stand in front of you as an advocate and strategist for philanthropy. I have witnessed examples, so many examples, of how philanthropy, when combined with strong partnerships, works magic. So over the next 3 days, we're uniting to shape philanthropy of today and the future, a much-needed topic. Our problems literally are too complex for us to solve them alone. We need collaboration and collective action. And action begins with dialogue in a safe place. We are so thankful to the Arab Foundations Forum for bringing us together for the first time in years. We are over 100 guests today and the next 3 days. This would not have been possible at all without our esteemed, dedicated supporters, whose commitment and generous contributions have played an instrumental role in making this meeting take place. By the way, do you know how many speakers we have lined up over the next 3 days? I'm going to give you a number, 70 of them. That is absolutely phenomenal. We will have plenary sessions, dinners, networking opportunities, lots of coffee and food, and here goes my diet. I'm so sorry. That will have to wait a bit. So a quick run through what we have in store for you today. We will have a keynote address by Mr. Badr Ja'far, a session at 10 a.m. on the future of philanthropy, and a selection of 3 parallel sessions to choose from, which will begin after the coffee break at 11:30. And I'll tell you a bit more about these later on. We will have lunch at 1, and we will kick off the afternoon with the Sawaris Foundation panel this session, which will look at the role of philanthropy in lifting vulnerable communities. At 3, we will have a panel session in Arabic, so sharpen up your Arabic, called Philanthropy, Fragility, and the Role of the Private Sector. And here we will look into the intersectionality of philanthropy, fragility, and the understated role of the private sector. And we will finish the day at 4 o'clock and depart from here to the Westin at 4:30 p.m. So, are you all energized? Excited to start? Absolutely. So, everything is very well detailed in your agenda and the event app. I don't know if you've managed to download it, all of you, all are on it. So this is a meeting, not a conference. I would really like to stress this. We want you to feel comfortable to contribute ideas and thinking. Our goal for us is to move beyond just words. We're all in it together. And actually, there's a VIP room at the left-hand side. If you wanted to have side discussions as well during the day, please feel free to use this room because we want dialogue to take place. So without any delay, I would like to introduce you to our first speaker, Dr. Ahmed Dallal. Dr. Ahmed Dallal is the 13th president of the American University of Cairo. Dr. Dallal has taught also at the Stanford University, Yale University, Smith College, and Georgetown University. You've not left any university unmentioned, yes? Where are you, Dr. Dallal? Please.
Thank you. Sabah khair. Your Highness, distinguished guests, friends, colleagues, ladies and gentlemen. It gives me great pleasure to welcome all of you to the American University in Cairo. We are pleased to host the Arab Foundation Forum and are delighted to see many friends and supporters amongst you. For long, the practice of philanthropy has been central to the mission of higher education, in the region and elsewhere, of course. It is through the visionary support of thousands of individual philanthropists and charitable foundations that universities are able to deliver quality teaching and impactful research, and provide life-changing opportunities for young women and men. However, today, global philanthropy is at a decisive moment. Humanity is facing daunting challenges that are complex and transformative. All stakeholders have to share in charting our way to safety. It is true that official development aid and private sector investment has dwarfed in the past philanthropic giving. Yet in the next decade, 14,000 ultra-high net worth individuals are expected to transfer over USD 3.9 trillion to the next generation, with a further USD 26 trillion to be passed over the subsequent 20 years. This extraordinary wealth has the potential to create a new generation of engaged philanthropists who can positively influence some of humanity's social, economic, and environmental challenges. Philanthropic organizations that give strategically enjoy a position of increasing importance. Philanthropic organizations that think strategically about their private giving take their impact beyond the temporary relief for some. When philanthropy acts strategically, it collaborates with grassroots community organizations, and it networks widely to learn and share. It sees its giving as a daring investment in new and innovative solutions on a small scale. If it fails, failure informs course correction. When it succeeds, it paves the way for public and private investors to scale up efforts. Among the emerging lessons learned from strategic giving is the realization that policy, regulation, and various administrative institutional arrangements by governments enable innovation and success. Knowledge institutions are ideal partners within this context of reflection, design of interventions, documentation, and learning. Philanthropy that thinks strategically about its impact seeks knowledge institutions to document innovative models, reflect on experiences, and analyze the optimal enabling environment of policy, regulation, and governance, without which most efforts at scaling up success remain limited in their impact. Allow me to say a couple of words about AUC. I know this is not about AUC, but AUC has long enjoyed multiple, and I'm sure many of you will relate to this, has long enjoyed multiple strategic partnerships with private individuals and foundations across the Arab world. In addition to being valued donors, they are respected thought partners. They have provided vital scholarships for academically talented students, as well as for some of the most vulnerable of the region. Foundation support has enabled thousands of students to earn degrees in all our areas of specialization, and our graduates emerge as leaders, driving innovation in their respective sectors. Philanthropy has enabled cutting-edge research and provided state-of-the-art facilities. As we consider the academic programs of the future, and we are considering the academic programs of the future, we are in constant discussion with foundations and philanthropic leaders about the needs of our societies and the impact that we can make together to achieve meaningful change. Arab philanthropy is at a pivotal moment. I'm sure you're going to talk about the history, or some of you will talk about the history of Arab philanthropy and its transformation into a modern forms of philanthropy. But Arab philanthropy is at a pivotal moment, as is philanthropy everywhere. The Arab region is in transition, and its private wealth is increasing and becoming more institutionalized. Expectations of Arab philanthropy as a strategic partner for sustainable and inclusive development are on the rise. So this conference, organized by the Arab Foundations Forum and the Gerhardt Center of AUC, will provide us with a valuable opportunity to engage and reflect on the state of Arab philanthropy and its role in ensuring a more peaceful, inclusive, and sustainable future for all. I really think that this meeting, that conference, is very important, it's very timely, and I wish you a very successful 3 days, and I welcome you to AUC. Please make sure you enjoy this campus. It's really a beautiful campus. Thank you.
Thank you very much for this brief speech. So now I would like to welcome Mr. Abdullah Saleh Kamel, Chairman of the Saleh Abdullah Kamel Humanitarian Foundation, to do the keynote welcome. Mr. Saleh anticipated joining us in person today, but due to prior commitments that were impossible to reschedule, he thoughtfully recorded a special message for us instead. So we'd like to listen to him.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. القائل في كتابه العزيز: وما تنفقوا من خير يوفى إليكم. والصلاة والسلام على نبينا المصطفى الكريم الداعي إلى طلب العلم لما فيه نفع للإنسانية. اللهم انفعنا بما علمتنا وعلمنا ما ينفعنا. الضيوف الكرام في ملتقى المؤسسات العربية الداعمة، السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. Ladies and gentlemen, our guests in the Arab Foundation Forum, I'm privileged to speak before you in this forum, and I ask your permission to speak in Arabic, as one of our strategic goals of the Saleh Abdullah Kamel Humanitarian Foundation is to revive the Arabic language, the language of the Noble Quran. بداية أهنئ الجميع بانعقاد الاجتماع السنوي لملتقى المؤسسات العربية الداعمة، والذي يعقد حضوريا لأول مرة منذ العام 2017، وهو ما يعد حدثا استثنائيا لجميع أعضائه الفاعلين من المؤسسات غير الربحية المعنية بأعمال العطاء الإنساني. إن ما يجعل لهذا اللقاء أهمية محورية أنه يأتي في مرحلة لها ظروفها وسياقاتها المرتبطة بمتغيرات المستجدات التنموية المختلفة والإشكالات الناتجة عنها، وقدرة القطاع غير الربحي على إيجاد الحلول المنهجية لما يواجه مسار الاستدامة التنموية، الأمر الذي يحفز من ترسيخ الحوكمة لدى كيانات هذا القطاع والعمل على وضع أطر عامة تكاملية تعزز من جهود العطاء وتحديدا العربي ليرتقي بدوره التنموي. إن أعمار الأرض ونشر النماء وتحقيق الاستدامة للمجتمعات الإنسانية وبث روح التكافل والتضامن هو من أسمى الغايات، ويتوافق أيضا مع اهتمامات الرؤى لمعظم الدول محليا والحاجات والتحديات المتغيرة عالميا. من المهم استشراف مستقبل الأعمال الإنسانية حتى العام 2030 وما بعدها، ووضع الأسس والحلول النوعية من حيث طبيعة مشاركة المؤسسات غير الربحية للمساهمة في حل المشكلات التنموية، ولن يتأتى ذلك لنا إلا عبر رفع مستوى التنسيق المشترك والتبادل المعرفي المؤسساتي. ومن مجموعة الأهداف التنموية التي تتطلب الاستشراف لمستقبلها الهدف المتعلق بالتعلم الجيد وكيفية إتاحة فرصة التعلم الجيد للجميع مدى الحياة، بوضع الأولويات والسياسات المنهجية لكيفية سد الفجوة الرقمية في مسألة التعليم وعوامل التمكين الأساسية لذلك. فالحقيقة الأبرز أن الفجوة الرقمية يعد مفتاح الوصول إلى التعليم الشامل، وهو الدور الذي يمكن أن يسهم فيه القطاع المانح بشكل كبير بالتعاون والتنسيق والتكامل مع جميع القطاعات الأخرى. وأيا كانت الأهداف التي يتم العمل على تحقيقها، تظل من الأهمية تحديد الأثر المستهدف من وراء تنفيذها. ختاما، تمنياتي بملتقى سنوي نوعي في طرحه ومؤثر في مخرجاته، وشكرا للجميع.
شكرا. Actually, I don't know if you know, there are also simultaneous translation. If you wanted a microphone, you can also pick up from there. Okay, so now I would like to turn to Dr. Ali Aouni from the John D. Gerhardt Center for Philanthropy, Civic Engagement and Responsible Business.
Assalamu alaikum and good morning. Thank you, Naila and the Arab Foundation's Forum for inviting me to address this year's annual meeting. And of course, congratulations to the Forum and its partners for the ongoing great work in helping to elevate.
It's your turn, yes.
Just to keep you awake. That's the whole thing. Well, first, greetings to all distinguished guests. I represent the Gerhardt Center, and we are founding members of the Arab Forum Foundation. But let me tell you why we're interested in the Arab Forum Foundation. We share one interesting characteristics. One of them is that we're all infrastructural organizations or platforms. Platforms are a very interesting device. They enable others to do things. Through a platform, you could exchange information, you could collaborate, you could do many, many, many things. We at the Gerha Center are striving to become a platform. And I think the Arab Forum Foundation is by design a platform of members, so they cooperate. Now, the annual meeting is just a mean of creating or fermenting connections. But the intention, again, is how do you collaborate? How do you exchange information? How do you exchange knowledge? Because the target for us is huge. And it's beyond the Arab Foundation, it's beyond the American University of Cairo, it's beyond any foundation. It takes us all. So that's the criticality of such a meeting. Now, when I tell you the tasks ahead of us is very huge, one of the major challenges we have is governance. And I'm not going to get into politics, because governance is much bigger than just the role of government. Governance is an ecosystem governance, and it requires, in addition to government, in addition to private sector, in addition to civil society, you'll have to take it a little bit down to the community level, to the individual level, and start working on producing real social change agents. That's the aim. If you produce social change agents who can work together to change society, in a way, you are starting on the road. You're starting on the road for governance. Now, I'm not going to, we can talk about this forever, and I think it's beyond my welcoming speech, but I just want you to sort of think about two things. Ask yourself about two things, and ask people around you. Are we doing enough? Are we doing enough? I mean, I'm not going to talk about the global sense, and I'm not going to give you a lecture about SDGs and how are we behind the SDGs and climate warming and all that kind of a thing. Look around you in your neighborhood, in your own country, in the Arab country next to you, and think, are we really in the position that we deserve or not? Now, the second question is to ask yourself, what more can we do? Now, mind you, those are two questions that you have to constantly keep asking yourself, because the target is not fixed. The target is moving, and you'll have to keep adjusting. But again, I'm very excited. I welcome you all, and I look forward to 2 days full of knowledge, full of socializing, and full of making new friends. Thank you.
Thank you very much. So now, I would like to turn to an individual of unparalleled dedication and influence, a person whose impact in the realm of leadership and governance extends far beyond the ordinary. With her involvement on an astonishing 9 boards of different organizations, among numerous other remarkable accomplishments, she stands as an unwavering commitment to making a difference. She also finds time, I don't know where, to even write publications. Look at this one. I mean, this is incredible. I don't know what to say. I guess you know who this lady is. So I'd like to introduce you to Ms. Naila Farouki. Please give a big hand.
Thank you, Joy. I paid Joy to say that. Hi, everyone. So, ladies and gentlemen, esteemed members of the Arab Foundations Forum, my members, Princess Nouf, President Dalal, and honorable guests, it is my honor and my privilege to welcome you all here to our annual meeting and to spend the next 3 days with you engaged in critical and timely conversations on the issues that face our sector today. Before I get started, I just want to take a moment to say a heartfelt thank you to our supporters and our partners. First, I want to thank the Saleh Abdullah Kamel Humanitarian Foundation and the Saleh Abdullah Kamel family for their generous support and for making this meeting possible. I also want to thank the Sawiris Foundation and the Sawiris family for their generous support for this meeting and for their continued support as members of our network. Our thanks go also to Crescent Enterprises, the Ford Foundation, the King Khalid Foundation, and the Gerhardt Center at the American University in Cairo for their support and their partnership, as well as Alliance Magazine, Philanthropy Age Magazine, and Afikra for their support as knowledge and media partners for our meeting. I also have to say a heartfelt thank you to the AFF team. It bears noting that this meeting and all of our activities, our webinars, our panels, our events, are managed by a team of 4. That's it. We are 4 people. And I promise you that you won't find a more dedicated bunch of teammates who I'm privileged to work with every single day. So Walid Nagy, Heba Abu Shnif, and Jumana Faroui, who is in London, so she couldn't be with us today, but I thank you all really from the bottom of my heart for all this work and effort that you put into making this team go, go, go. So our sector in the Arab region has undergone a transformation over the past 10 years, with many of these changes having been catalyzed by the Arab Spring and the events surrounding it since 2011. We've seen our sector flourish in some ways, with foundations being established across the region with a focus on local development. And we've seen the sector flounder in other areas, with more and more restrictions being placed on our activities and the challenges that come with those restrictions. Our forum has confronted these same challenges that many of you have faced. Many of you know the details of the challenges that we faced because you've been with us for so long. And we're proud to still be here with a re-energized vigor and a commitment to continue the work that we started 17 years ago. Our network continues to grow, and your presence here with us today is proof of that growth and of the place that our network holds in the advancement of and the contribution to the evolution of the philanthropic sector in our region. This year, we host you at our first in-person meeting since 2017, and we're honored to be holding this important meeting at the American University in Cairo, which is my alma mater, many years ago. And we're grateful for the support of the university and for the partnership of the Gerhardt Center. We have such an incredibly rich agenda lined up for the next 3 days, and you'll be hearing from some of the most innovative and impactful voices in the philanthropy sector on issues that range from the future of philanthropy in the Arab region with a view to 2040, the critical role of data and how it can help us to further the incredible work that all of you do every day, and the role of philanthropy in addressing what is arguably the most pressing and urgent issue facing the world today, and that is the climate crisis. I'm personally grateful to all of you for taking the time out of your incredibly busy schedules to join us for the next 3 days, and even more grateful for the commitment that you make as leaders of philanthropic organizations, Arab and non-Arab alike, to quite literally make this world a better place. Your continued trust in us and your engagement with our network is not something that we take for granted, and my hope is that you'll find the next 3 days to be inspirational and productive. So, on that note, it gives me great pleasure to introduce officially the next speaker, Mr. Badr Jafar, who was a little bit early, a couple of minutes ago, but he was so keen to be with us at this meeting, had to be in New York for the UN General Assembly. So he's recorded a special keynote address for us to share with you today. Badr is the CEO of Crescent Enterprises, one of our supporters for this meeting, and is also the special representative for business and philanthropy at the upcoming COP28. So thank you, and let's get started.
Assalamu alaikum and good morning. Thank you, Naila and the Arab Foundations Forum for inviting me to address this year's annual meeting. And of course, congratulations to the Forum and its partners for the ongoing great work in helping to elevate the practice and impact of philanthropy in our beloved region. I begin with a note of optimism about the future of philanthropy in the Arab world. I believe we are on the cusp of converting the enormous potential of Arab philanthropy into a driver of large-scale social change. Yes, our region faces major challenges around poverty, unemployment, climate change, water and food production, and growing refugee populations, but we also have the resources, tools, and creativity to overcome them. And Arab philanthropy can and must play a leading role. Of course, many of these challenges are interconnected. Our solutions must also be connected through multi-step, multi-stakeholder interventions. The most effective solutions must be multiplied through collaborative frameworks involving individuals, families, businesses, and governments. A prerequisite to creating this multiplier effect involving philanthropy is the strengthening of our philanthropic infrastructure. And before I delve into that, and at the risk of preaching to the converted, I would like to underscore the enormous potential for our global growth markets, both in the Arab world and beyond, to become the centers for large-scale strategic philanthropy and social innovation. These markets already represent over 60% of global GDP and include the top 30 fastest growing economies in the world. Looking ahead, we also expect the vast majority of new net wealth creation to be from these regions and held by today's youth. And this is driven by the largest intergenerational wealth transfer ever, close to 30 trillion US dollars that is happening across global growth markets. In the Middle East alone, over $1 trillion is expected to be transferred to the next generation within the coming 6 years. This new generation, affected by regional and global crises, will use this capital along with new economy tools to mount a response. So we must seize this unprecedented opportunities created by these tectonic shifts to nurture and strengthen catalytic capital, also known as philanthropic capital. This is the imperative to build philanthropic infrastructure. And I see 3 essential ways to strengthen this across our region. Activate and strengthen relevant networks, streamline conducive regulation, and enhance philanthropic governance supported by solid data and evidence. First, the need to strengthen networks. The Arab Foundations Forum is itself a great example of why regional networks for philanthropy are so important. They serve to create and circulate knowledge, bring the philanthropic ecosystem together to share experiences and inspire action, and advocate for the crucial role for philanthropy in our society. This firm belief in the impact of such networks is what led me to partner with the University of Cambridge to launch the Center for Strategic Philanthropy in 2020, and with NYU Abu Dhabi to launch the Strategic Philanthropy Initiative in 2022. It's also why I'm very keen to launch similar centers in Africa and East Asia, inshallah, later this year and early next year. These centers bring together sector practitioners, philanthropists, business leaders, and policymakers to discuss ways to optimize the impact of strategic philanthropy across their own regions, as well as how to use philanthropic capital to build lasting bridges across these regions. They also conduct crucial research on the past, present, and future of philanthropy, and of course educate aspiring philanthropists on innovative approaches to philanthropy. The more we develop and nurture these crucial networks, the faster we can enhance philanthropic practice and reinforce ecosystems around philanthropy. Second, regulation. As many of you know fine well, fuzzy legal frameworks for charity and philanthropy across the region have impeded the institutionalized development of foundations and the activities of philanthropies and philanthropists. Networks and organizations such as the Arab Foundations Forum can be an important voice advocating for more effective and enabling regulation to help the sector realize its true and huge potential. And by doing this, we will in turn be able to draw on the endless creativity and imagination of our youth, an increasing number of which will want to work for the greater public good. Now, in order to make a convincing case for better regulation, we in the philanthropic sector must demonstrate accountability and transparency in our own governance. The third key component to strengthening the sector. Our focus must be on building trust with our community partners, with policymakers, and with the general public. About 5 years ago, we launched the Pearl Initiative's Governance in Philanthropy program. It serves to actively raise awareness of good practices and governance standards in the Gulf region's philanthropic ecosystem. The program promotes a transition from the traditional ways of charity and CSR to more strategic understandings of philanthropy to drive greater impact. A few years ago, the program kickstarted a dedicated community of next-gen philanthropists called Circle to make it easier for this group to learn, connect, and grow. And the program offers a database that helps donors learn who is funding what and where. And this is done in partnership with the Gates Foundation and other like-minded actors across the region. The more transparent that we are as philanthropists, the more we can share data and evidence regarding the impact of our philanthropic work, and the more trust we can build, the more impact we will have. Without quality data, our networks are blind. Without evidence, philanthropists and their foundations cannot make fully informed decisions. And on the theme of data and evidence, another central part of philanthropic infrastructure in our region is well-informed philanthropy journalism. I believe that our region, and in fact global growth markets more generally, have been underserved here, which is why I was excited to partner with Alliance, a nonprofit media group dedicated to philanthropy that's been active for over 25 years, to help train and place philanthropy journalists across the Middle East and North Africa, Sub-Saharan Africa, and developing Asia. These journalists are recruited to help achieve greater geographic parity, identify and nurture new voices within the sector, and to ultimately encourage greater exchange between philanthropic practitioners across the globe. We also hope to enhance philanthropic practice within these regions by featuring local champions who can share their knowledge and experiences with a wider audience. Efforts such as these and all the incredible initiatives that so many of you are initiatives will undoubtedly help to boost the growth of strategic philanthropy across the Arab region, and in turn help us seize the opportunity provided by the growth of catalytic capital here. Now, before I wrap up, I need to address one of the greatest opportunities for philanthropic intervention in our region and globally: climate and nature. Over the past 5 years, foundation funding for climate change mitigation has more than tripled to over $3 billion annually, with the numbers of grantees doubling. But even so, the share of total giving that is directed towards climate mitigation remains below 2%. Furthermore, the top regions receiving climate change mitigation funding are the US, Canada, and Europe. Africa and Latin America combined represents less than 10% of global foundation funding. So the opportunity is for us to channel more funds from and to these regions of the world that stand the most to gain from climate and nature action built around a common sense of purpose and urgency. Philanthropic resources must also play a role in catalyzing both public and private finance. Philanthropic capital can deploy flexible, risk-tolerant, and patient capital in ways that can uniquely leverage a business and government capital and create a multiplier effect to unlock the trillions of dollars required for both adaptation and mitigation outcomes. We can also provide first loss capital to incentivize commercial investment in climate and nature solutions, and can contribute research, knowledge, and networks to leverage more private capital towards these solutions. Importantly, we can and must also invest in women as climate entrepreneurs. Women globally receive 7% today of money received in this area. So we must make sure that many more of the exceptional women innovators in our own region are empowered to develop ideas and creations that will make the difference between success and failure. As many of you know, the UAE is preparing to host the Global Gathering on Climate, COP28, which will kick off in exactly 78 days' time. And in my role as the COP28 Special Representative for Business and Philanthropy and chair of the COP28 Business and Philanthropy Climate Forum on the 1st and 2nd of December, I greatly look forward to engaging with you all in this immense opportunity. COP28 will elevate the role of business and philanthropy as fundamental partners, and through this forum we hope to bring together over 500 CEOs and philanthropy leaders from around the world alongside global policy heads to seriously move the needle on climate and nature goals. We'll also engage SME owners and startup entrepreneurs as crucial custodians of innovative climate solutions. We hope to catalyze the collective action to deliver in key areas, including accelerating green technology transfer, de-risking green investment through blended finance, fostering innovative entrepreneurial solutions for climate and nature challenges, and supporting the most climate vulnerable countries and societies to build a more resilient and sustainable future. Ladies and gentlemen, fellow philanthropy advocates, I've seen rapid and positive change in philanthropy in the Arab world over the past decade. Our philanthropic ecosystem has the tremendous potential to build on this momentum and to strengthen relationships amongst business, philanthropic, and government stakeholders. Together, we can gather the data and provide the resources that will help us realize our full potential. I urge you to continue to invest in this incredible ecosystem because the leverage it will create across our societies and economies will be truly extraordinary. Thank you once again for including me in your gathering, and I look forward to continuing the engagement with you all. Wishing you a great rest of the day.
Thank you. So now I would like to kick off the event with a key session, the future of philanthropy, how will the sector look like in 2040? I would like to invite Dr. Noha Milkawi, Dean of the AUC School of Global Affairs and Public Policy. Prior to her tenure at the AUC, she spent 10 years as Regional Director of the Ford Foundation for the MENA region. Welcome. I leave you to welcome the speakers to the panel.
Thank you. Great to see everyone here today. Thank you all for coming. My name is Noha El-Mikawi. And just a quick note about the school I'm so honored to lead, the School of Global Affairs and Public Policy at the American University in Cairo. It's a school that has departments that provide master's degrees, diplomas, and it's also a school that has an executive education program that provides micro-credentialing, training, short capacity development programs. And we concentrate on global affairs, as our name says, as well as on public policy. That is public policy analysis and public policy advocacy. That's what we teach our master's and diploma students. And we do that through a Department of Journalism, Department of Law, and a Department of Public Policy. And we also have centers that do research on very poignant issues such as migration and refugee studies, gender studies, and more. We come to this forum meeting because of our interest in responsible administration in government, as well as in the not-for-profit sector, both of which depend highly on this courageous catalytic funding that we heard Badr Jafar talk about today from Arab Philanthropy. Truly so, President Dalal made the point, the net private wealth in this region is enormous, which reminds me of the United Nations report of 2005 that said this region is rich as much as it is underdeveloped. That was back then. Now we have high expectations for sustainable, durable, inclusive development, and the role of philanthropy, the private wealth of this region, is at stake, and a great stakeholder to look forward to. And that's the session we're having today. I am so privileged to have the opportunity provided to me by AFF and Gerhard Center to be in conversation in front of you today, and with you as well, with this great set of women, Arab women leaders of philanthropy. I'd like to call them to the stage, and I'll give you a little bit of an introduction to a very rich history that each one of them has, and together we will listen to their dreams for the future of philanthropy in the Arab world. Let me start with Her Highness Princess Nouf bint Mohammed bin Abdullah Al Saud. Your Highness, please join us. And while you join us, I would like to introduce Her Highness Princess Nouf, CEO of the King Khalid Foundation, one of the leading not-for-profit organizations in the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia. Princess Nouf has been a member of the King Khalid Foundation on its board of trustees since 1996, engaging in shaping the foundation's finances and strategy. She leads the foundation's programs towards the economic and social empowerment of vulnerable groups and sustainable environment. She has led and been a member of many other foundations in Saudi Arabia, but one of Princess Nouf's greatest achievements, for which I personally thank her a lot, was in 2020, when she chaired the Civil 20 Engagement Group, one of the G20 engagement groups representing the perspective and voices of global civil society to the G20 leaders. Under her leadership, the C20 grew in membership. Listen to this. Under her leadership, the C20 hosted the biggest gathering of civil society organizations in history of G20, with more than 1,500 civil society organizations and 25,000 online viewers of the sessions of the C20. I thank you for all the effort you've done to democratize and localize the voices of philanthropy in such an important summit like the G20. I would also like to ask Nora Slim to the floor, Executive Director of the Sawiris Foundation for Social Development. Nora Slim is the Executive Director of the Sawiris Foundation, and that is since the beginning of 2015. In the past years, Nora was involved in leading the implementation of a large-scale transformation in technical education and training focused on improving performance and employment outcomes, as well as leading a healthcare reform program aimed at increasing access and quality of care. Nora is currently a board member of National Investment Charity Education Fund, representing Sawiris Foundation. Nora was a board member and the chairman of the Arab Foundations Forum between 2017 to 2020. And in 2019, Nora was selected from the World Economic Forum as a young global leader. Thank you for being with us, Nora, and we look forward to your sharing ideas and insights. I would like to welcome Mirna Atalla, Executive Director of Al-Fanar, to the floor. Al-Fanar is the oldest venture philanthropy organization in the Arab region, and Myrna has overseen the growth and expansion of the organization since 2010, enabling the pooling and delivery of over $10 million in grants, zero interest loans, as well as Al-Fanar's first equity investment, coupled with management support to over 130 social enterprises across the region, with particular emphasis on Egypt, Lebanon, Jordan, and Palestine. Through its venture philanthropy approach, Al-Fanar has enabled its social enterprises to grow both their impact and their self-generated revenue by 39%, and to directly improve the lives of over 300,000 vulnerable women, youth, and children. Al-Fanar continues to disrupt and to engage positively in the future of such startups in the region. Thank you, Myrna, for being with us, and we look forward to your contributions today. By no means least, my friend Hannah Mitri Shaheen, Executive Director of the King Hussein Foundation. Hannah, please join the floor. Hannah is a passionate advocate for women's empowerment and social development, and she has over 30 years of experience in the not-for-profit sector and has led the development of several successful programs that have benefited 500,000 people in Jordan. And she has a lot of information to share with us today on how King Hussein Foundation has managed to become a leading philanthropy voice in her country and beyond. Thank you very much for being with us, Hannah. This lineup of wonderful leaders will join me today in doing two things. Admit some mistakes. The philanthropy sector anywhere in the world has been through a lot, has made mistakes, but strategic philanthropy learns from mistakes and moves forward. Learning is a big theme. So we will start today by saying, where does Arab philanthropy stand vis-a-vis global philanthropy? What mistakes have we made in the past? What have we learned from them? And then we move on to ask, what does each one of those wonderful ladies leading in very challenged and challenging times, what does each one of them dream of? What makes you wake up in the morning and want to get to work because you have a dream? They will share their dreams for Arab philanthropy with us, and we will not only share the dreams, I will insist that each one of them tells us how does she chart the pathway to implementing her dream, because dreams alone stay dreams. Let me start out by posing the first question, and I will ask my guests here to ponder, think about them, and tell me who wants to start us off with an answer. I have the questions for everyone right there on the screen, and my question says, in a recent report on the future of philanthropy, the authors noted that shifts in power and trust shape philanthropy worldwide today. Our region may still have some catch-up work to do on power and on trust. By power, we mean to say that many Arab philanthropy organizations still continue to provide for communities rather than with communities, exercising a lot of their own power of giving and power of planning and power of implementation. And on trust, we say many Arab philanthropy organizations today continue to be detached funders rather than engaged and networked funders. Some of those words may resonate with you because you must have started doing projects that were like that. I always like to say, dare to share a failure and what you learned from it. Who would like to start us off? And please feel free to speak in Arabic if you want to do that, because after all, this is the Arab Foundations Forum and we are in Egypt. Princess Nouf, would you like to give us an example of how we may have failed in the past in the power relationship and trust, and what we learned from that failure?
شكرا دكتورة. أول حابة أشكر نهى على والمؤسسات ملتقى المؤسسات على الملتقى هذا، والجامعة الأمريكية على دعوتنا. وجودي مع المتحدثين في دول يمكن لها باع أطول في العطاء المؤسسي مننا في المملكة، وتعلمنا الكثير، والفرص هذه تجمعنا ونقدر نتعلم أكثر. بالنسبة لي موضوع عدم النجاح ولا الإخفاق، يمكن أقول أول تجربة لنا لما كنا نبغى نطور في منطقة اسمها قلوة في المملكة. هي كانت بحسب الدراسات يعني يمكن أضعف المناطق تطوراً في المملكة واللي احتاجت دعم. ورحنا ودرسنا ووصلنا وما نجحنا لأنه ما حللنا بالضبط ممكنات النجاح. وأول ممكنات النجاح هو أنه يكون معك شركاء على أرض الواقع يبغون يساعدونك ويقدرون يساعدون، مؤمنين في رسالتك. فأخذنا خطوة إلى الوراء واكتشفنا أنه هم ما كانوا رافضين، لأنه ما يبغون التطور، كانوا رافضين. وأنا أسفة قاعدة أحكي عامي يعني باللغة اللهجة، إذا في مشكلة غير. الإشكالية كانت أنه ما كانت عندهم هم ممكنات النجاح. فرجعنا لخطوة للوراء، والمؤسسة صارت تشتغل على تنمية قدرات القطاع الغير ربحي. شفنا الاحتياجات، درسنا الاحتياجات، حكينا مع الجمعيات واشتغلنا على تطوير هذا الشيء. شيء ثاني، إذا رجعت للتقرير اللي حكى عن المشاكل اللي تواجه المؤسسات، التقرير غالباً يأتي من منظور خارج منطقتنا، فتحليله للمشاكل ما هي مشاكلنا. واعتقد من أكبر المخاطر علينا أنه إحنا ننظر إلى مشاكل عالمية ونعتقد أنها هي مشاكلنا. الحضارات والأفكار تنتقل بسرعة رهيبة، وأحيانا قد ننسى أنه المشاكل ما هي مشاكلنا. وموضوع الثقة وموضوع التطوير كلها مشاكل مختلفة. تاريخنا يختلف في تكوين المؤسسات الخيرية. في دول ثانية المؤسسات جت تحل محل خدمات كانت تقدمها فرضاً الكنيسة، والعاد قدمتها صارت والحكومات ما قدمتها. تجي في مشاكل أنه النظرة للمؤسسات هذه أنه والله هي ما أقول تطهير أموال، مؤسسات تخليد لاسم. وهذه الشكوك اللي تواجهها المؤسسات في دول ثانية. احنا المشاكل اللي واجهناها من ناحية الثقة هي كفاءة صرف، ونعترف أنه كثير من الأعمال اللي تدعي كانت أنها خيرية راحت لتمويل مشاكل دمرتنا، يعني سواء كان إرهاب ولا كانت سرقة. يعني هم يعني قالوا أنهم مؤسسات ما هم مؤسسات، وحسبوا على المؤسسات الخيرية وحوسبوا الحمد لله، والحوكمة تغيرت. فأول شيء أطلت، لكن هي أنه لازم نحلل إحنا المشاكل. عندنا مشاكل اللي طرأت من هذه اللي هي عدم الثقة في المؤسسات الخيرية والجمعيات خاصة أكثر من المؤسسات. فإحنا في المؤسسة إيش اللي سوينا؟ أخذنا على عاتقنا حكاية تحسين النظرة للمؤسسات الخيرية عن طريق المناصرة، عن طريق الحكي مع الداعمين، مع الجمهور، عن طريق التواصل الاجتماعي أو أي طرق للمناصرة لقضيتنا. الشيء اللي كمان طلع من هذا من عدم الثقة هو الأنظمة اللي خففت من ولا لا حصرت عمل المؤسسات. فاشتغلنا مع الحكومات مع الجهات المشرعة على تغيير منظومي so systems change لرفع بعض الأنظمة والقوانين اللي حدت من عملنا خففت الثقة. واشتغلنا مع الحكومة، اشتغلنا مع البنوك المركزية، اشتغلنا مع البنوك اللي موجودة في البلد وجمعناهم سوا وقدرنا نطلع من المؤسسة بتخفيف القيود، إتاحة فرص الاستثمار، إتاحة فرص الصرف، إتاحة فرصة البنك أونلاين بانكينج. أسفة حاولت. وكمان عملنا على إنشاء مركز، كنا مناصرين لهالمركز وهو طلع من عندنا مركز لدعم القطاع الغير ربحي. فدورنا إحنا لتحسين الضوء إنه نشتغل على المشاكل المنظومية كمؤسسات لأنه عندنا القدرة وندعم القطاع الغير ربحي.
شكرا سمو الأميرة. تطرقتي للعديد من النقاط اللي هتطلع عندنا بالأمثلة المختلفة اللي الزميلات القائدات هون على المنصة هيتكلموا معنا فيها. نورا, you've gotten yourself quite a formidable reputation in the kind of pioneering work that the Sawiris Foundation has done in terms of learning as well as in terms of response to educational and community level needs. Before we move on to this excellent record, dare to share an example of failure from which you really learned a lot, what philanthropy, if it's strategic, should not do.
صباح الخير. في البداية برضو أحب أن أنا أشكر ملتقى المؤسسات العربية الداعمة نايلة والجامعة الأمريكية بروفيسور دكتور دلال على استضافتنا واستضافة الملتقى المهم. مبسوطة جدا ان انا قاعدة معاكي تاني لان احنا مفتقدينك في القطاع التنموي ولكن انتقلتي ستيل كجزء من الايكو سيستم، فسعداء ان انتي لازلتي معنا ومتشرفة فعلا بوجودي ممثلة لمؤسسة ساويرس مع زملاء اتشرف بالتواجد معاهم. اعتقد دي يمكن من اصعب البانلز اللي انا حضرتها لان هم سؤالين بس سؤالين يمكن صعبين. واحد على او يعني بيزقنا كقطاع ان احنا فعلا نفكر ونعترف ونعرف حتى الاخطاء والاشياء اللي احنا فشلنا فيها كقطاع تنموي. والسؤال الثاني اللي هتتطرقي ليه وهو الحلم لينا كقطاع والحلم لينا كعاملين في هذا القطاع لما بنبص على القطاع في 2040. فالحقيقه السؤالين صعبين. خليني اركز على السؤال اللي حضرتك طرحتيه وده يمكن انا برضو سعيده ان زملائي موجودين من المؤسسه لان احنا في المؤسسه عندنا قطاع هو أجدد قطاع عندنا في المؤسسة وهو قطاع اسمه قطاع التعلم والاستراتيجيات. وده قطاع يمكن ولد يعني بدأ في المؤسسة من حوالي 4 سنين وبدأناه للهدف ده، لأن احنا نتعلم، لأن احنا ندرس. مؤسسة ساويرس بقى لها 21 سنة شغالة في جمهورية مصر العربية، شغالة في مجالات مهمة من التعليم والتمكين الاقتصادي والتمكين الاجتماعي. ولقينا حقيقي ان احنا في مدار مشوار 21 سنة ما أخدناش من الوقت ومن الإمكانيات ومن الجهد ومن التفكير ما يكفي لدراسة ما فشلنا فيه وما ان احنا عايزين نغيره وازاي هنستمر. فيمكن عبد الرحمن على طول بيقول لي احنا محتاجين نتكلم اكتر على الحاجات اللي احنا فشلنا فيها، محتاجين ننشر اكتر الحاجات اللي احنا فشلنا فيها. مش عايز حتى يسميها mistakes، عايز يسميها failures ويبقى very clear on let's talk about what we really failed to do. فيعني كويس ان هو هنا فهتكلم بهذه اللغة. لان احنا اولا كمؤسسة ساويرس وكنظرة للقطاع بشكل عام، سواء هتكلم على مستوى جمهورية مصر العربية أو حتى على مستوى الشرق الأوسط، أعتقد إحنا ما استثمرناش كفاية في السنوات يعني اللي فاتت في إن إحنا نجمع بياناتنا ونحكي قصتنا ونشوف فعلاً إيه اللي اشتغل بالنسبة للبرامج. أنا بتكلم على برامج تنموية بتستهدف يعني objectives او اهداف واضحه. فاحنا كمؤسسه ساويرس عملنا برامج كتير ليها علاقه. هاخد مثل، يعني اعتقد المثل ده هيوصل الصوره في احدى الحاجات اللي احنا فشلنا فيها. احنا قلنا احنا كمؤسسه بنستهدف التمكين الاقتصادي، واحدى اهداف مؤسسه ساويرس انها تمكن الشباب وانه يزيد دخل الشباب ده، والشباب ده يحصل على فرصه عمل لائقه. جينا نبص طيب هل انا اقدر ان انا اتكلم وارصد ده بشكل علمي، بشكل يمكن كاي شركه بتنشر النتائج بتاعتها اقدر اقول انا فعلا مش كام شاب انا دربته، كام شاب بعد هذا التدريب قدر يحصل على وظيفه لائقه. ما معنى لائقه؟ طب هل البارامترز بتاعت لائقه دي تم فعلا استيفائها في هذه الوظائف اللي الشباب دي حصلوا عليها؟ طب لما بتكلم على الدخل، هل انا فعلا قدرت اقيس واقدر اقول بكل ثقه وانشر بكل ثقه اكاديميكلي ان زاد دخل هذه الاسره من اكس الى واي، وبالتالي المستوى الاجتماعي والتعليمي والثقافي لهذه الاسره تطور؟ لا. فعليا لقينا ان احنا بعد انفاق ال20 والمئات من الملايين احنا وزملائنا في هذا القطاع ما شفناش ان احنا قادرين ان احنا نرصد ده بشكل يعني in an academic rigorous way in a debate that can uphold وما نقدرش ان احنا حتى لو نقدر نقوله في اخر البرنامج التنموي فعملت فرصه توظيفيه فاقدر اقول في اخر السنه، ما اقدرش ان انا اقوله بعد 3 سنين ان هذه الوظيفه لا تزال قائمه، ان هذا الشاب فعلا تم تمكينه بشكل مستدام as we all talk about sustainability. فده اول نقطه. فدي نقطه احنا كمؤسسه قررنا ان احنا سوف نستثمر. يمكن اديت مثال ولكن ده تم تعميمه على جميع برامج المؤسسه. هي رحله، مش هقدر اقول لك ان انا النهارده اقدر ارصد لك كل هذه النتائج، ولكن احنا النهارده كمؤسسه ساويرس في رحله الى ان احنا نتكلم بشكل دقيق جدا وعلمي جدا على النتائج، وعلى النتائج بشكل يمكن يعني النهارده وبشكل بعد medium term long term etc. فدي اول نقطه فشل، اول درس مستفاد. تاني حاجة وهي برضو رحلة احنا لا نزلنا بنغير فيها، وهو الريستريكتد فاندنج او التمويل المشروط. احنا واعتقد اغلب الممولين including عالميا مش فقط في المنطقة بنبص كجهات تمويليه على ان احنا الفاندنج بتاعنا فيري ريستريكتد، اديني اكتيفيتيز معينه انت يا جماعه. وده ات ريليتس لنقطه الثقه، ما هي جايه من ان القطاع مش عايزه اقول في عدم ثقه، ولكن في دايما parameters of tension في الثقه بين القطاع التنموي والجهات الحكوميه، الجهات الاكاديميه، الجمعيات الاهليه والممولين. يعني فالايكو سيستم سيت اب على فاندنج بيبقى اغلبه very restricted. انا هدفع ده وهدفع ده وعشان تتحرك من هنا لهنا محتاج تثبت لي. فاحنا كمؤسسه برضو دي رحله. احنا النهارده اطلقنا بالتعاون مع مؤسسه كير برنامج احنا فخورين جدا بيه لانه ليه علاقه بال increasing the capacities of the NGO sector at large، ولكن جزء من البرنامج ده ازاي ندي unrestricted funding that is based on trust او الثقه. انا بثق في قدراتك طالما انت جمعيه اهليه شريك ليا في هذه العمليه التنمويه وفي تحقيق هذه النتائج المهمه، ولذلك لازم يكون في ثقه بيني وبينك، ولذلك لازم اديك تمويل اثق ان اكيد انت المفروض تكون اشطر في توظيف هذا التمويل طالما انا وثقت فيك اساسا في ان انت تحد من الفقر في مجتمع اكس. فده يمكن تاني درس مستفاد امل ان احنا كقطاع نتحرك في هذه الرحله بشكل ناجح. ثالث درس وعشان برضو ما اطلش، دورنا كمؤسسات في أرض الواقع في برامج، ودورنا كمؤسسات كبيرة في policy change, systems change، حاجات يمكن أكبر more upstream versus downstream. فمؤسسة ساويرس برضو كمؤسسة بتهتم بالتعليم، تمكين اقتصادي، تمكين اجتماعي، يمكن كتير من تركيزنا هو في إطار تنفيذ برامج بالتعاون مع الجمعيات الأهلية. لكن أنا إزاي أكون مؤسسة تنموية مصرية كبيرة ليا تاريخ وليا تعلم وما بقاش جزء كبير من المشاركة في تغيير السياسات؟ يمكن يكون أصعب، يمكن conversations أو حوارات ما هياش سهلة، ولكن لازم يبقى لينا دور، لازم نكون موجودين على المائدات اللي بيتم اتخاذ هذه القرارات عليها. والحقيقة أنا سعيدة إن احنا بيبقى مرحب بينا ونبقى مدعوين، ولكن أوقات القطاع التنموي يعني بيشاي واي شوية من، لأن ممكن تدخلي في حتة تحسي إن it gets يعني مش دايما سهل. ولكن لو احنا يعني طموحنا اكتر من ان نبقى a drop in the ocean because otherwise يعني we are a drop in the ocean، اعتقد ان كتير من المجهود كمان محتاج يركز على policy change. والآلية اللي احنا اتخذناها كمؤسسة ساويرس ان احنا نعمل ده هو من خلال أدلة. فانا مش عايزة ابقى قاعدة بناقش حبي let's say، ولكن حابة ان انا استثمر في أدلة بحيث لما اقعد مع policy maker وسياسيين ومتخذين قرار اقدر ان انا يبقى عندي أدلة من الواقع المصري، مش أدلة خارج النطاق العربي، النطاق والكالتشر والثقافة اللي احنا بنعمل بيها، وأقدر إن بناء على هذه الأدلة أقدر إن أنا يبقى ليا دور في تغيير السياسات لصالح المجتمعات اللي احنا في الآخر كلنا قاعدين النهاردة هنا لأن احنا بنخدم مجتمعات ومؤتمنين على أموال لخدمة هذه المجتمعات. شكرا.
أشكرك يا نورة. الصوتين اللي احنا سمعناهم دلوقتي ينتموا إلى نوعية من مؤسسات العطاء الاجتماعي في العالم العربي، وهي مؤسسات مالكة لهذا المال الخاص ومؤتمنة عليه. يسعدني بقى إن موجود معانا على المنصة نوعين آخرين من العطاء الاجتماعي في المنطقة العربية، وده اللي بيمثله هنا متري شاهين وميرنا عطلة. هنتقل في الأول لهنا وأختم وختموها مسك بميرنا، لأن هنا مؤتمنة على أموال المؤسسة وأموال مانحين آخرين، بيحصل فند ريزنج ليها من المؤسسة وبعدين بتنتقل إلى التنفيذ في أرض الواقع. هنا أنت دايما كنتي من السباقات في الاعتراف بالأخطاء وبالتعلم منها، تدينا برضو خبرتك في هذا المجال. تفضلي يا هنا.
At a later stage, I will get to my dream, but just briefly, I want to touch on the topic. As you said, that we're in a very critical stage now because we are facing a huge challenge, and this is financial challenge and restricted philanthropy. Because a lot of the times we feel three elements are shaping our work in Jordan in particular, which is the dominance of the geopolitical conflicts, the wars, the divide, income divide, technology divide. I can't stress the geopolitical effects of nationalism. I can't stop talking about the climate change effects. Everything really is affecting our giving. This is one element. The second element, which is some people might call the power struggle internally and internationally. We are seeing, the unfortunate that the philanthropic world, the oligarchy, the wealthiest oligarchy, the rich foundations are really restricting our work. They come in with their own agenda, with their own budgets, and they tell us, this is what you are supposed to be doing. And this is exactly a big challenge for us because it might not really meet the local needs. And that's where we lose trust. At the same time, we lack philanthropic freedom, as we say. The philanthropic freedom, which means that there is restrictions on money movement. And again, this creates mistrust between us and the government because there's always the foreign agenda, fear of the foreign agenda, that we're taking money from foreigners and therefore they're planning their agenda. So this is a very huge problem for us. And I'll be talking more about the philanthropic freedom that we think about is because we want to talk about different means of philanthropy, there's a lot of worldwide models on new philanthropic, and I think some of the members has already touched on it, but this is something we would like to talk about. And we can't also ignore the fact of neo-colonial philanthropy. Unfortunately, this we face, and this again creates mistrust between all stakeholders. So what I want to say that what we want to do at the foundation and what we are trying to do, diversification of funding. This is very important for us, and I'll give you an example. We work day and night, honestly, to try to get strategic partners who believe in us, who give us the free hand to determine the local needs and utilize local knowledge, local information, and build and design programs that meet the needs. We have managed to get around 50 donors across the 6 institutions that work in different development fields: multi-sectorial, education, health, community development, cultural awareness and work, performing arts as well as utilized for creating awareness. And last but not least, we really try to provide services and make those who can pay carry those who cannot pay. And a good example, we have a model, a school for the gifted and talented in Jordan. And what we have in the very beginning, 25 years ago, we used to give full scholarship to around 400 most outstanding students, secondary students from Jordan. And by time, as funding became scarce, we started of thinking, how can we really manage to sustain such a wonderful program? So we said we'll have financial aid based on family income, and we introduced a software that actually calculate the income, and we started introducing this methodology to sustain, as I said, have sort of in-house, local bred diversification of funding. And of course, as I said, collaboration and strategic partnership is key to facing all these challenges. Financial independence to design what is needed that creates trust among all stakeholders, and philanthropic freedom, as we call it, is something that we really working on different ways. Policy awareness and delivering impact and sort of advocating and using these evidence-based successes to catalyze and scale up these interventions. Thank you.
This is fantastic. So far, what we heard from our 3 fantastic leaders here is philanthropy has really very interesting functions to play besides giving as such. And I'll start with the last thing that Hannah said. Hannah, you almost changed, in my mind, the whole concept of localization of development into also a concept of bridging between global knowledge and indigenous knowledge. And Arab philanthropy has an important role to play in bridging that. All of you have mentioned the systemic movement upwards from service delivery to systemic change. And it's really important for us all to consider how each and every one of us as organizations in philanthropy are doing this journey, walking this journey from service delivery to advocacy of systemic change, and the learning piece. It came up so interestingly in all of what you said. And I think Sawiris Foundation, to a certain extent, led the way, at least in Egypt, in saying, I'm attaching the word learning to the word strategy. It's not learning in writing reports to show how good we are. It's about us coming back to improve our strategy and creating a unit for that. That's an interesting institutional development that Sawiris Foundation introduced in Egypt about learning and strategy. Myrna, another role for strategic philanthropy in the Arab world is the catalytic, courageous investment in particularly young people with interesting, daring ideas. Venture capital is daring capital, dares to fail as well. Myrna, tell us your experience.
Thank you, Noha, and thank you, Naila, and thank you, Dr. Dalal, and this
I can't tell you after COVID. It's so nice. I mean, Noura, I don't think we've ever met. So it's really just exciting to have this meeting and this space, to be honest, and I'm honored to be here with such remarkable colleagues. When we first prepared for the panel, you asked us to think about 2040 and the most pessimistic kind of vision so we can get to the optimistic. And I just want to start there to get to the story. For me, the worst outcome would be to be here again in 2040. And Dr. Aouni, you asked, are we doing enough? And I love this question because it's so important lest we forget why we are here. Poverty levels are increasing in the Middle East and North Africa. We are one of the only regions where it has consistently been going up since 2014. Even though there are poorer regions in the world, they are going down. We are last in terms of gender equality. We still have the highest youth unemployment rates worldwide, and we're a regional organization, so we think kind of in those manners. And then 50% of our children are considered learning poor. They cannot read or write, at an age-appropriate level by the age of 10. Lest we forget, we must collaborate because none of us individually can achieve, meaningful, statistically significant, measurable change in any of these spaces. Al-Fanar came, to being 19 years ago. Our late founder, Tariq bin Halim, kind of landed on venture philanthropy as a model. And we have been iterating and learning and changing ever since because there's maybe a model globally speaking, but ultimately we have to localize. And by the way, Egypt is not Lebanon, is not Jordan, is not Palestine, is not even the towns within those places. So this has been such, an exciting journey that we've been lucky enough to have partners along the way. But we decided that if we were to make any dent as a kind of niche-focused disruptor, that we would try to back entities, social enterprises. In the day, we did not even have a name for them. Today it's a la mode. But, whatever they were doing, our effort had to back their financial sustainability, even in the most kind of narrow manner. And so we decided, and I should say in the early days we were trialing, we used the words project. It was 1-year funding. We do not use the word project if we can help it. These are investments, a very small signal step change that helps us reform the relationship with the entities. But, more than that, we had to make other kinds of changes along the way. So today, well, maybe I'll go backwards. We used to tell these social entrepreneurs, some of them young and some of them not young, some of them nonprofit registered, some of them for-profit registered. Today it's more common and the regulation allows it, most of them hybrids. We used to tell them, go out, be daring, take risks, we want to support you, and we'd give them 1-year funding. Well, and then they spend their life going from incubator to accelerator, 10,000 here, 20,000 there, 5,000 here, and they couldn't cobble up the funding, So truthfully, we had to stop, and it's not perfect, and sometimes it works and it doesn't. Today, we've revised our investment cycle, through great learning, and our country director, Shenouda Bisada, has been by us iterating along the way. We have a seed cycle. Let's accelerate the relationship, give some of our support, and figure out where the pipeline is. And in an ideal world, that pipeline becomes transparent, not just, something sitting in the Al-Fanar CRM, but figure out who's ready for longer-term support, who is in the growing stage. There are so many people doing startups, fantastic. So we call our friends and say, where can we build up? You know where the gap is? It's in the $100,000. It's in the growing social enterprises that are kind of moving up. Their profits are growing up, but they're not covering costs. But nobody wants to touch them because they need more funding. So our second phase, if you make it through the seed cycle, we work with you to do a business plan, a social business plan, that we then take to our investment committee and we say, back it for 3 years. Come on, let's take the plunge. Let's give them $300,000, part grant, risk capital, patient, flexible funding, and hopefully, if we've done our job right, their cost recovery increases, their self-generated revenue. Ladies and gentlemen, the sale of goods and services, not more donations and grants. That's if we've done our job right. We then make it zero interest repayable grants.
so that they learn to take some responsibility. I have to pay for my marketing. Yes, pay for your marketing, and slowly take 2 years, no interest, pay it back. Become either recovering most of your costs, break even, fantastic, or maybe impact investor ready. That was a big change, and we don't have it perfectly, and sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't. But that idea of investment, that idea of long-term change, long-term support, funding, and not too restricted. You are absolutely right. We cannot be fully unrestricted, sadly, but we like to, when possible, spend on your CEO. You couldn't find the talent pool? Yalla, let's do it. You want to spend on marketing? How are you going to do sale of goods and services if you can't market? We collaborated with King Khalid Foundation. We did an access to market study mission for some of our social enterprises to go to Saudi. What's the point of saying sustainable if we don't open those pathways? So those are some of the kind of learnings, and hopefully we can share more. Thanks.
This is fantastic. And what I see here is out of the venture capital area of work, there is a new modality of trust building developing with your partners that Nora talked about when she said Sawiris and Care will invest in the capacity of the grassroots partners, and this capacity also helps increase trust and builds a real equal partnership. I'm not only asking you to implement a project, I'm actually investing in you as an institution for the future. The sector is converging around very interesting trends that we hope you will take forward with you throughout today, tomorrow, and the day after. I'd like to just quickly summarize those trends before I ask our guests to dare to dream, and each one of them will tell us, I dream of, and that's how I can get us there. Until you prepare your answers for that, may I see the next slide to summarize where this session so far in this discussion has shown us the trend of Arab philanthropy moving. It is moving away. Can I please have the next slide? The next for philanthropy in the Arab world is moving us away from the now that we work in silos to we are catalysts for larger and networked funding, and not for issues and projects, but for programs. We heard our ladies say that in the institutions they lead. Philanthropy is moving from optimizing internal procedures, and we saw that very nicely in the Sawiris example of building a unit for learning and strategy, an excellent example of internal procedural optimization, to optimizing for agility and innovation working to the outside world. And that was Prince Nouf's contribution, Hannah's, and finally Myrna's. And we saw that our philanthropy is moving from service delivery, direct service delivery, to capacity of the community needs also to be developed and not the service that the community receives. And for that, we need to move from philanthropy in small issues to philanthropy on big systemic issues. And we saw how all four voices are advocating for that role of philanthropy, systemic change. And I think some of you have actually started to do that, whether in venture capital or in educational reform, healthcare reform, and the like. Now we move to our last question before I open it up for you all to engage with our panelists. I have a dream, and let me start with Nora.
Thank you for giving me the hard question. طيب بما ان نهى قالت ان احنا يعني محتاجين نرصد الحلم ولكن نتكلم على ازاي هنحققه، I guess I can't dream too unrealistic. بالنسبة لنا هتكلم كمؤسسة ساويرس، احنا الحلم بتاعنا ان نكون بنحد من الفقر بشكل فعال، وان احنا نقدر ان احنا نرصد ده بشكل واضح جدا وبشكل علمي جدا. ولذلك يمكن يبان ان هو حلم بسيط، لكن فعليا هو حلم على مدار السنوات ما كانش سهل للمنطقة العربية انها تحققه وترصده. ولذلك يمكن عشان كده اتكلمت عن وحدة التعلم والاستراتيجيات. احنا خطوتنا ان احنا نقدر ان احنا فعلا نشوف قدرنا نتحرك قد ايه في ده. وفي جمهورية مصر العربية مع الظروف الاقتصادية المتغيرة، فهو مش سهل ان you're operating بقى agility etc has to be all the time، لان you are يعني adapting to changing circumstances. اللي عايزة اقوله في النقطة دي كمان، وهو مش موضوع بس رصد بيانات وتحليل احنا بقالنا فترة بنبص على يعني لو بنتكلم على التنمية كعلم، فهو الحد من الفقر ده برضو انك تعمليه ازاي فهو علم. فالنهارده مؤسسه ساويرس البرنامج الرئيسي هو برنامج مبني على targeting the ultra poor، وهو البرنامج اللي اتعمل من براك في بنجلاديش وفي دول اخرى كتير. فناو احنا we have one program that sits at the core of our strategy. بنعمل حاجات تانية، ولكن لما بنتكلم عن حد من الفقر بنتكلم عن حد من الفقر باستخدام هذا البرنامج بالذات، وبالتوسع في هذا البرنامج مش كمؤسسة ساويرس، كمؤسسة ساويرس مع الجهات التنموية المختلفة، سواء بقى جهات كبرى زي الأمم المتحدة، سواء وزارة التضامن الاجتماعي، الورلد بانك، other institutions, hopefully community جميل، يعني anyone who is in the development sector. عايزين ان هو يبقى شريك، لان احنا بنتكلم على بلد بحجم مصر 110 مليون، وهوبفلي كمان تبقى تجربة نقدر ان احنا نوسعها في الشرق الأوسط كالآلية اللي بتحقق فعلا نجاح في الحد من الفقر. فيعني اللي انا اتكلمت فيه doesn't sound inspiration، يعني I wish I did like a great speech, I have a dream and then it was like a super inspirational statement بس mine was very يعني tactical and specific. بس هي فعلا املي ان احنا 2040 ما نبقاش جايين بنتكلم على بصوا احنا بنينا مدرسه، بصوا الاطفال شكلها حلو زي what you see in all annual reports، نصور الطفل ونيجي نتصور معاه. املي فعلا ان احنا نبقى قطاع جاد علمي زيه زي أي business bank XYZ. It is a science. It's not about your intention. I have good intentions, you have good intentions, we all have good intentions. عملنا إيه بكل ال good intentions دي؟ وعملنا إيه بالمليارات اللي بتدخل في القطاع التنموي عالميا سنويا؟ ده الحلم.
وابتديتي بداية موفقة جدا وحدة التعلم والاستراتيجية، بالتعاون على الامباكت ايفالويشن وبخلق شراكات واسعة جدا مع قطاع رسمي وقطاع حكومي وقطاع بنكي وإلى آخره. ميرنا, your dream.
I love this question. And I'm going to admit that I haven't necessarily run all the answers. We have our investment committee member, Dr. Barbara Ibrahim, so I hope it's not totally surprising. I think it builds on what you've said, Noura, and it certainly builds on my aspiration. But in 2040, what I hope to see is at least one functioning, if not multiple functioning social stock exchanges in our Arab region. I sincerely believe that we should grow out of this space. Circle is already creating some deal share platform, opportunities, but it's already happening. India has, and I'm going to use the more developing countries rather than the developed countries. But to get to a point where we can actually IPO nonprofit organizations and social enterprises and create an active, more efficient market for funding their work, because the funds are enormous. And the transaction costs we spend to identify, to find the unlikely, suspects. Oh, we funded them too much. No, you never funded them. Yesterday, I got here from London at 5 a.m. At 7 a.m., I was on a car going to Minya to see an investment we have made for 10 years in widows micro finance and widow banks. 22,000 widows, 100% repayment rate, 38% increase to income on the back of those microloans. I mean, and they need more. They're going to Luxor, they're going to Sohag. I mean, it's never going to be enough. Okay, Al-Fanar can fundraise and match and da-da-da, but if there were a social stock market that were creating opportunities both to transparently report on what the impacts are, Obviously, there are lots of hurdles in that way. And then to match the owners of capital to drive that change, that would be a magnificent dream. And to get there, I really believe the work that King Khalid Foundation is doing on social enterprise laws, social investment laws. In Jordan, there's a conversation. In Lebanon, there is a law, but we need some functioning institutions to get it passed. But these are very important steps. Number two, we must pool our funding. We just have to get comfortable sharing the risk and the reward. We have to work together to get comfortable kind of pushing the big, outcomes together and then learning from that the same way that you're doing it, at Suwiris, that we learn together and then improve upon it. And maybe the last thing is, I really do think we need to invest, is that when we talk about capacity building, that ability not just to assess ourselves, but to enable those change agents on the ground that we so proudly invest in, to allow them efficient ways to assess themselves. So we develop apps for every social enterprise that gets into our long-term investment pool so that they have access to business intelligence technology, and it isn't independently evaluated, but to reduce that transaction cost of, I have to report, or, ooh, I have the donor to report. No way. If you have 22,000 widows taking microloans and XYZ village is not paying back, you shouldn't wait for a quarterly report to act. You need to act quickly. So in order to get to a social stock market, we also have to be enabling those actors that we invest in to be able to track and change course a little more effectively. So that's the way to get there.
You're leaving us with a wonderful agenda for more thinking and more research. Hannah, what's your dream?
Actually, I must admit, hearing these wonderful achievements, accomplishments, sadly say that in Jordan, unfortunately, we still have many restrictions. And the first one is, or I should say my dream, have 3 prompts in it. We have philanthropic freedom, and that is enabling environment, legal environment, that really supports the development of, as you were saying, venture capital, philanthropic venture capital, impact development that really becomes a catalyst for change. And I can't stop emphasizing the importance of enabling social enterprises. I think, as you said, that there is such a huge push towards entrepreneurship among the young generation in our field, and we're not really making the best out of it. There's still restrictions, unclarity, blurred understanding of philanthropy is doing good. We all know that, but we need to have it self-sustaining, do good enterprises, and this is what we really should and are catalyzing and are promoting in Jordan, but we still need the enabling environment. Something else that we're missing on is the crowdfunding. And I see, my dream is seeing Generation Z, Generation Alpha, working together on solving climate change nexus of, human food security, water preservation, or issues related to our region and very much needed. And just look around to the West, there's even philanthropic, crypto philanthropy. And what I was amazed to hear about that. And that is something that, again, regulation is needed. Something that we also touched on is it's a dream, but do we dare to dream of galvanizing the wealthiest, the billionaires, the Arab billionaires coming together and starting a mega fund that really shapes the Arab world, like Warren Buffett and Bill and Melinda Gates. So again, talking about collaborative action, and I think this is a dream. And something else we really have to, it's a dream, and I think we really should take some action towards is, ladies. We have amazing ladies in the Arab world who are wealthy, who are surging in position, in accumulating wealth. Why can't we have a women's Arab philanthropic fund that helps their sisters across the region? So this is another thought that I really love in my dream. Something else that I dream about is utilizing technology. Technology, again, because we need measurable impact to enhance trust among us, all stakeholders. You know, data analysis, big data, the information technology. It's really still not enough introduced and utilized. I dream of having a central online platform where a push of a button you can send multiple, multiple information and reporting to again enhance transparent and measure impact, which is really important. Talking about this, my dream, and I think I shared it with you yesterday night, is how about starting and really activating a philanthropic hub? A philanthropic hub whereby we start a regional training center for potential professional young philanthropist leaders in the Arab world. I think this is very much needed. I think we really need to equip this young generation with the latest technologies in measuring, in running efficient philanthropic operations, in actually evaluating again the programs and making intelligent decisions, designing the right, introducing new philanthropic tools, as you were saying, and the venture capital and what have you, not undermining the importance of having a win-win situation where we allow the corporate sector to collaborate with the philanthropic sector and give them a return on their profit. Because again, it's a win-win sustainable solution. So we should not shy away from this fact. So this is something that we really should think of equipping, as I said, young under training center. And something else that I dream of, and I feel it's really missing, and it is my dream within this philanthropic hub, is to start an independent organization that assess, evaluates philanthropic programs, that it can evaluate philanthropic programs, that it can set benchmarks, philanthropic standards, which in the development world, in our part, we lack these benchmarks, we lack these evaluation tools. While I look at the microfinance, you mentioned the microfinance, I see several companies worldwide having a strict and very clear standards for evaluation, the social impact, evaluation, the governments, evaluation, the tools used in actually enhancing and raising the bar for microfinance, like microfinance, microrate, but I don't see any benchmark for the development work and the philanthropic work. So within this philanthropic hub, my dream is I look at this hub and see the Arab Foundation Forum name standing out, and I was really wondering if we can take some action to start delivering these much needed tools and centers that could really help us shape the philanthropic sector here in the Arab world. Thank you.
Thank you very much. This has been quite a heavy and a very inspiring list of dreams. We are coming very close to the end of our session, and I have agreed with Prince Nof that she will help me give the last word to close this session. But before I do that, I want to see if
anyone in the room wants to add a dream that you haven't heard yet, because these are fantastic opportunities for AFF, Gerhard Center, School of Gap, and many other entities around here to work together to make your dream come true. I see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 dreams. Great. Let me start with Dr. Aouni. And please, if I can ask the 7 dreamers to be short, I would be very grateful.
I'll be very quick. When you look at giving in general, big philanthropy is only 20-30%. That's across the board. The remaining are sort of poor philanthropists, as Alan Fowler calls them. Now, the problem with them is that you don't have a platform to collect what they gather, or to tell them what to do. Now, interestingly enough, most of the philanthropists, when they go to a community, they engage in little engagements and never in building a platform across the community. That's one comment. The other comment is about the ecosystem. Ecosystem requires transformative changes. Big bets, as they call it in the Rockefeller Foundation. Big bets are not, instead of educating 10 people, I educate 100. Big bets, it means changing the curriculum in the country. That's the leap of faith, and I don't think we're doing it. Last comment, when you look at, and I'm going to switch into Arabic, لما بتبصي على زكاة المال, which is mandatory, هتلاقي زكاة المال بتجمعها الدولة وبتصرفها الدولة. This is how it was intended. حروب الردة حصلت عشان منع زكاة المال. لكن لما تبصي على الصدقات أو الأوقاف, which is basically philanthropy, this is more of the cherry on the pie or specific issues. لكن the real bread and butter in giving is zakat al-mal, which is really, there is a platform that tends to be either communal or governmental that distributes them. And I think there is a good reason for this. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Ali. Please, the gentleman right next. I'm sorry, you kindly introduce yourself.
Yes, sir. Imad Baalbaki, Senior Vice President for Advancement at the American University of Beirut. It's great to see some very good friends. Again, it's just a small comment, but I believe it's a cornerstone, which is, my dream is to eventually have a better Arab citizen. I think this is a foundation for the attempt to resolve a lot of our political, economic, and social problems we have. And in terms of failures, I believe that we have not had a lot of success in that. And the status of the Arab world that we're living in, I think it's a manifestation of that. I'm not sure to what extent, our colleagues here agreed to that, but I believe that there hasn't been a lot of successes in that domain.
Please go ahead, Jacqueline.
Thank you. I'm Jackie Malouf from Lebanon. I'm the president of the National Diabetes Organization, Dialab. I'm not standing because I don't want to cover the people behind me. Actually, I have a dream that I heard it today being a reality in speech, that I would like to see it being a reality in action. And I would state the keywords very briefly. Unrestricted funds is a dream to us small NGOs with great impact. Long-term financing is another dream to us again. And the biggest dream is to see it really happening, because I will explain very briefly why is it so hard for us. So we have sometimes two choices. It's so hard to get into a consortium because we don't have a history. But then again, how do you build your history? You have to start somewhere. What ends up happening is that we are being subcontracted by one of the members of the consortia, and then we are underpaid for the services. Our volunteers sometimes don't get transportation fees. So we don't want that. This is not fair. It's not It should not happen in any dream. So those are the keywords that I would like to see. I heard them today. I'm very happy to see those brilliant ladies. You make me proud to be a woman. You make me proud to be Arab. Thank you so much.
Jackie, thank you very much. I see one more hand. Please introduce yourself.
Hi, طبعا. My name is Nermeen Abu Ghazi. I was in charge of the Alfi Foundation for quite some time, for more than 11 years, and I took a break last month. So my dream is the mapping among the different philanthropy and corporate social responsibility working for a better future, because this will avoid many challenges that we are facing, repetition that we are also facing, and it will complement the impactful work that most of us are doing in different sectors and developing sectors in particular.
Thank you, Nermeen. Yes, please go ahead. 3 more dreamers. Go ahead.
Perihanna Bolaila, Greenpeace MENA. So as a Greenpeacer, I dream of a more just, sustainable and green future. As MENA region and the global south generally are affected by the worst climate issues, I wish that I see more power dynamics formed of youth, women, high net worth individuals, and independent foundations. Thank you.
Thank you. Yasmin Kaali, I'm co-founder of Basma Zaytuna, a grassroots organization and a fellow at Harvard Kennedy School. I want to reiterate the dreams of all the ladies on the stage. You guys said amazing things and you have amazing dreams, and everybody else. But I also want to shed light on what Jackie was saying, especially with an organization that works in the Levant, which is a traumatized region, and specifically Lebanon, which has been going through atrocious circumstances. And I've worked with Myrna, and Myrna understands where I'm coming from. The agenda for all the INGOs is localization. And everybody brought to light localization, but what are we really doing for localization? What are we really doing to empower local organizations, local grassroots organizations that are serving communities, not only to get them into a consortium, but to really have long-term, sustainable impact on communities in order for them to shed the poverty, to shed the lack of education, to build a better citizen, to build a better civil society, in order for them to advocate for themselves. Because when I advocate for them from my stage, it's not enough. I'm not getting their voices heard. Are we getting the grassroots organizations' voices heard for what the real needs of the communities are and how the needs can be addressed in reality, not by taking a program that was successful somewhere else and bring it into another village within the same country? It's not going to work. It's not going to work. They need to have a seat at the table. The people need to have a seat at the table, and that is my dream. Thank you.
Thank you. And our last dreamer, Marwa.
Hello, everyone. My name is Marwa Sharafuddin. I'm also a fellow in Harvard Law School's program for studies in the Muslim world, and at the same time in Musawa, the global movement for equality and justice in the Muslim world. Myrna said something that started me thinking. I was a bit skeptical when you said it first, but then it got me thinking. The stock exchange, the social stock exchange you were talking about, I thought, what about having it also for philanthropic organizations, actually? Because when you're reviewed, performance improves. And it made me think there is a power dynamic that's happening between philanthropic organizations and the other organizations that they support. And this power dynamic needs to be deconstructed because it's harmful for everyone in the ecosystem. Having a stock exchange of the sort, where also the philanthropic organizations know that they are being looked at, judged, evaluated, will improve their own performance. And some of the very interesting things that were raised in this session, And thank you so much, Noha, really, for bringing to us, when asking these questions, reports, scientific data of what's going on and where can we move. So, for example, one of the things to be judged upon is this philanthropic organization working on system issues, like Dr. Aouni was saying, building 2 schools, wala overhauling the whole educational system. Then I choose, okay, no, this is the kind of funder I want to work with. Another one that Noha, you brought to us in the slide here, whether this is a funder or organization that works with, not works to or at or for. And then what Noura was talking about, this amazing thing about learning and feeding into strategy. If I'm going to work with this funder or this philanthropic organization, they're going to help me learn and feed back into my strategy to redirect and become even better at what I do. I go to that funder. And then finally, financial sustainability, which is what you guys are doing in Al-Farar. So I mean, already there is a lot for us to use, to evaluate, but this is maybe the next project of the AFF to do. Thank you.
Thank you very much. We are at the end of a fantastic session that starts us out. Princess Nof will help me give her final thoughts, having listened to all of this. Princess Nof, the floor is yours.
شكرا كثير. And I will switch to English for now because the message is maybe more an international one here, and I will try to be brief. We're coming up on lots of issues. We have climate issues, we have intergenerational equity issues, we have sustainability issues. So my dream is that NGOs are the partner of choice for governments to work on these issues locally, that the local philanthropies have the expertise, they are experts, they have the knowledge, and they have proof-based solutions to their problems. Now, the reason I want to talk in English is because climate, of course, is a huge thing. And we are constantly hearing about climate justice. Climate justice is not the end all and beyond. And for us specifically in the region, what we really need to be pushing for on the international front is a change in international financial architecture. That's one. And as foundations, we can do that. We have to remember that our governments are restricted in what they can do and develop by what is impositioned on them by financing from donor nations, whether it be ODAs or aid or whatever the form of aid is. And we need to be clear on what we need done. And we need development justice. And development justice requires that we look at our issues and the issues of the world, and we know that a lot of poverty issues are a result of climate change and environmental changes. We know this, we understand this, but what is justice for us? What is justice development? Again, when you are at the mercy of foundations, international foundations giving to you, we need to be in a stronger position by showing them proof, by understanding what we do, that no, this is what we need. If you are going to impose on me that I work on these, and we need to be strong enough to say, please don't, kick the can down the road and tell me what to do, while you are not doing what you need to do, the reforms, and you are not working on systems change within your country that is affecting my country. So we need to be strong. We need to remember it's development justice for us, for our region, localized within our needs, using our numbers and the impact that we want to see for our community. And I'll just leave it with that. Thank you.
I cannot have wished for a better ending of this session. We are back to power dynamics. We are back to global power dynamics. And we can see Arab philanthropy voices making the point. They've had their journeys, they shared them with you. They dared to share some of their failures with you. Ask them more during the coffee breaks. Many of the dreams they set today are actually in the making, and these are the sessions of the rest of the day, the sessions of tomorrow and the day after. You will see those dreams in the making. You will help make those dreams hopefully come true by 2040. I cannot thank you all for being so patient. I cannot thank the panelists more for being so open and so inspiring. And thanks AFF
Gerhard Center. Have a wonderful conference.
Meeting.
We have now coffee break. We have to be back. Excuse me. Hi. Sorry. Thank you so much. So sorry. Thank you. Thank you. I'm the awful person who has to keep the timings here. So please go for coffee. And we're back at the parallel sessions at 12 o'clock. And we have to choose. We've got 3 parallel sessions to choose from. Can you hear me? Okay. Excuse me. Hi, sorry. Don't hate me all. Can you please, there's coffee just outside. Then we start the parallel sessions at 12.